like you said, in 1973, that was the highlight. I was picked to play with a team a very strong team that year. In fact, we were even favored to win Cup match that year. Even though we hadn't won it in about 10 years, that Somerset team was favored to win. And I remember my skipper, Joe Bailey, saying, in very short words, we will win that game. And the game was good. It was going good for the first 35 minutes of it. And there was this big, dark cloud that came in from the airport, settled over St. George's Field, and that was it. It rained and rained, and all that night, the next morning we woke up, it was still raining. But we still had to go to St. George's, and halfway through the afternoon, still raining. Well, I finished then. That was my biggest disappointment.
It's very humbling to be here this afternoon and accept the award. I thank the Heritage Production for giving me that award. When Dr. Tanker came to me to get a bio, he asked me what was my most memorable moment in cricket. And you know, it wasn't until after I finished playing that I had to think about what really was the most memorable moments for me. And the most memorable moments is playing against some of the best cricketers Bermuda has ever produced. I had the privilege when I played my first Cup match to be with Clarence Crawford, Neville Darrell, Rupert Scotland, the late Rupert Scotland, Alden Rayner, Lionel Thomas. And to think now that I played against like Co Trott, Joe Bailey, John Tucker, you know, Alden, Big Al James, Randy Horton. So those were the best times of my cricketing career, because as I look around today, you know, no disrespect to the cricketers, I'm yet to see a Co Trott, I'm yet to see a Alan Duggan, I'm yet to see a John Tucker, I'm yet to see a Cleve Reid or Arnold Manning. So that for me is the most enjoyable moments of my cricketing career, to say that I played against some of the best that Bermuda.
For me, I'm honored. I played just like Alan, both Allens. We played in a generation where we came up with a lot of great Bermudian cricketers. And you know, that strived us to become better players. The integrity, the discipline, all the things that we're asking of our players now, we didn't have to do years ago. When you think about Cup match and the heritage, I come from a great story. I had me playing for St. George's, and my two brothers playing for Somerset. My nephews played for Somerset. And now I teach at Eastern Primary School. They asked me, well, how come your brothers played for Somerset and your nephews played for Somerset and you played for St. George's? So I had to just explain to them the situation. I said, well, when you understand heritage and culture, my mother's family came from St. George's, my father's family came from Somerset, and there you go, that's how it happened. But the good thing about that was that my mother supported St. George's, but the minute either one of the brothers would come in, she would sit you up and say, come on, Andre, come on, Anthony, and I would just look at her, well, what are you doing? So I think it's important, and I try to instill that in our kids today, that they understand the importance of Cup match.
Cup match, in my humble opinion, this is the pinnacle of our sporting calendar, and it's the occasion that every cricketer in Bermuda should aspire to be a part of. It has been in existence for over 110 years. And despite the excitement that continues to exist around it, there are some aspects of that, unfortunately, that will not hold it back. I speak of the behavior of some of the younger players, both on and off the field. To the management of our clubs, I implore you to do your very best to ensure that these young cricketers know the history, and it has been mentioned before, that they are and should be honored to be a part of, and teach them the history, and at the same time teach them how to behave, so that the history of this great classic and this fine game will never be tarnished. This is our event. Let's treat it like the treasure that it is. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, fellow cricketers, The door that we opened and closed to come here today is not promised for us tomorrow. Therefore, I suggest from each general admission ticket sold at future cup matches, put $1 into a fund to assist all cup match players, retired or playing, umpires, official scorekeepers, groundsmen, managers, etc., who have assisted in making this game what it is today.
In 1979, Somerset took 8 World Cup players in that squad. And the only guy who weren't in the squad, if I remember my old friend, Jumping Jack Hines, right there, like always jump in the air, okay? Randy Horton, and I think the other guy was Quentin Shallow. But the rest of the guys were all ICC players. We guys was informed, okay? We was together as a team. We ate as a team, we slept as a team, we done everything as a team. So when we came back that 79 year, we were prepared. So then we came back under Randall Horton. Mr. Speaker today, we all call him Clugger Horton. Okay, and in that particular year, you know, we was very, very well in the field, batting wise. And Colin Blade and I put on a big total in the team. And that year, I was on 84. And they had a mission, but I still think I should have got that century. And let me tell you why, what stopped me from getting that century is that I'm not gonna blame the skipper because we was on a mission. I'm gonna blame Al James. Al James came to the wicket. He hit every ball over the club field. Every ball. Didn't even give me the strike. Okay? And that left me stranded down there. Al went on to make 40 runs, and all I needed is 16. Okay? So up until today, I still tease him till they say, hey, you're a little selfish, man, you're selfish. You didn't give me the other 60 runs, right? But what happened is that, you know, I've met a lot of good innings in cup match. I've been in the 70s, I've been in the 60s, 50s, 40s. But I can say one thing, I never had a duck in cup.